Well, now we're going. All right. I'm feeling good.
Yeah. Now that we're on the air,
Yeah,
is this thing on?
it's on.
All
Yeah,
right.
so there was a lot in here. Uh,
So much,
um,
unironically.
there were a lot of things that existed. It is
And was
pop.
that a function?
X are things that happened in the right in the reading,
Exist.
and it is possible that that sentence is true.
Possible that I'll share like a copy of the book and then my notes. Let's see here. I'll pull up the books so I got side by side. My autistic notes. Let's see here.
I should already have this thing pulled up. Hold up. Oh, let's take it off. Take
Jesus,
it off
doesn't even have
screen
the
now that I
book
have half the
pulled
screen
up.
here.
Wow, doesn't even have the book pulled up. Did you even read it, bro?
I I did, but I have it on a physical copy, so I can't.
Ooh, big, big
All right,
timing. I see what it
we're gonna
is.
download this. All right, yeah. Oh no, people can see what's in my fucking downloads folder.
Yeah, like that picture I sent you.
What, the one at work?
Soggy ass titties. I was like, I don't know. I
Yeah.
know in the future sometime JP is gonna appreciate this, and you
Yep.
did. It worked out.
Yes. I didn't get a good glimpse, but or a good look, but it did. It did take me by surprise. The massive soggy
HR
titties.
is gonna appreciate that. Listen, I did pull it up for everyone to see, but I didn't look. Good Christian boy. All right,
You
let's
have
take a
the
look here.
version from that has like the dominoes on it
Yes.
from Rutledge.
Yeah.
Okay, we can
And then I
reference the page
have
numbers.
a new, not new, ND. I can't remember. It's Notre Dame. I have like a Notre Dame copy, which goes over like one philosophy department or organization's kind of like take on things.
Yeah.
To like graph things out, I guess it helps on
What is
occasion. But
the
what is it? What is the chapter called again?
uh uh general propositions in existence? 61.
All right. You want to start it or should I?
Let it rip.
Um, I'll just go in chronological order. Um, uh, so we talked about, yeah, so we talked about there's just all or some. Um, uh, the one negates the other.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, it's purely a matter of taste based on vice versa. And then we get right into prop functions, which is kind of what he's leading into. Um,
Yes.
and he talks about things in the world versus things that exist.
Uh huh.
And I sent you, I just autistically, I was like, I'm bored, so I wrote a script to do basically what Control F can do, or Control F, R, I guess, to because he had so many fucking quotes and they weren't like indented. And I was like, fuck. So I just did like a line split for every quote.
Uh huh.
Like so, like all Greeks are men. The proposition, um, no Greeks are men would be true. No Greeks are men is, of course, um, well, no, we're reading it for us. The proposition is, of course, the proposition all Greeks are not men.
Uh-huh.
So no Greeks are men. All Greeks are not men. Both propositions will be true simultaneously. It happens that there are no Greeks. All statements about all of the members of a class that has no members are true. Because the contradictory of a general statement does assert existence, and is therefore false. In this case, I just want to jump around so many ways, so I'm going to stop there because like the next thing I want to talk about is in the end where he talks about the fucking
Yeah, so there's a he should have brought this up, and I guess he did briefly when he talked about Socrates being dead, but the whole thing about um uh temporality, so there are no woolly mammoths that exist, right? In some sense of the word. Like, to say I mean right now it is the case, I guess, that X is a woolly mammoth is possible, but there aren't any, so there are no woolly mammoths. But you can still say something like all woolly mammoths are bigger than than bacteria, or like single celled bacteria or single cell organisms. You can say that, and that's true, even though there aren't any woolly mammoths. Which is the annoying thing about like unicorns that he was talking about. I mean, because he seemed to be making a title like, "Oh, this is the way things are," that there are no unicorns. I mean, but I can still fathom a world in the future in which there's a fucking horse with horns. So, in which case, it's not the case that X's unicorn is impossible. It's just that it hadn't been fathomed yet. He's kind of even falling prey to to an assumption that he even brings up himself, where he's talking about like, oh well, if you look at all the people who are in the room, you think, oh, these are the 5 people in the room, but you're not seeing anybody hiding on the table, but it's
behind the table. Yeah,
yeah,
that
but
was
so
that's where I wanted to jump to. Is you jumped to right
but
where I was going to jump to, which
yeah,
is
but
the kind of the more important section.
well, it just bothers me that he didn't talk about temporality that way, because like I mean he did briefly talk about it to say that like Socrates is mortal
To
is
die
just
another time.
yeah, well, is just to say that Socrates died at some time, or it's just to say that somebody is mortal is to say that so such and such died at a certain time t. So it's just to say that Socrates died. Um, there is a time t such that t is a time, and Socrates died at t. Um, so to say, I guess that like woolly mammoths. I mean, I guess he does have to include in existence past, present, and future, which is kind of annoying because he doesn't really talk about that all that much. And then now you kind of have to index all possible propositional functions at a certain time, such as
I think he covers this. He covers his ass. I would say is when he says talks about sense. Um, if a thing does not appear to your senses, it is not there.
he's not asserting that as a principle of a system. He's just saying this is the type of general proposition that is primitive, that we kind of take, well, that in ordinary
No, no,
life.
that's the expanded version because the first one is the colloquial. If you do not see it, it does not exist, and then he reformulates it. Of course, we would not put it so strongly as that, but you would assume that with certain limitations and certain qualifications. If a thing does not appear to your senses, it is not there, right? Which is the more formal or drawn out language that kind of
Yeah,
CYA is that.
but I mean, he's just kind of saying that that is a type of general proposition we take to be true so that we can make inductive inferences. Uh, I don't think he's saying that generally as a like a.
Okay,
I don't think he's making that statement. You're 25 and 26 there, as a philosophical position or like an epistemological one. I think he's just using it to demonstrate that there are primitive primitive general propositions that we use to induct, other
Induce. In.
to
Yeah.
induce other general propositions, such as these are all the people in the room, or all swans are white, whatever.
Okay. Why did that? So why did it? What did it bug you about um, the Socrates is mortal, um, and then at T is the
Well,
time, and Socrates
so
dies at T, and
he did a better job of dealing with temporality when he was explicitly talked about it. But something like something that does like woolly mammoths don't exist. They do not exist anymore. So he didn't quite talk quite enough about the relation between existence and temporality. Now, part of the weird thing about existence here is he's also saying that things don't exist, but that facts do, or that, and then there's this other another conflation here that he's saying that propositional functions exist. Although it bothered me before that, so we had that, but so propositional functions are a weird like intersection of both facts and propositions, because he was very explicit and consistent before about the fact that facts they either exist or do not exist, and it is propositions that are true or false, and they're true and false in respect to whether the fact that they described exists or not. But then we start getting into we're getting these propositional functions that he's saying, well, they're not. He says they're not like propositions because they're not true or false. They're just necessary, possible, or impossible. But then he goes on to say that they have existence, which bothers me. I don't like that he's talking about
which
it
is
that way.
more absolute, is what you're kind of saying.
Uh, I mean,
Whereas possible or possible or
yeah, well,
the others
the
are
ones
much
that
more ambiguous.
the ones that exist are the like X is a man is possible is an existence claim. What bothers me is he's now where previously he was very clear about when we were talking about the language or or the conceptual side of language or things, whatever, and then the difference between that and the actual world. So there's things that are the actual world, and there's things that we use to talk about the world. Where now he's now blurring that line, because he's starting to say that our proposition that X is a man is a functional proposition. It's lying on the language side of things or on the conceptual side of things, but he's saying that it has existence, which is a real issue. I mean, it could. I mean, obviously, he does make it clear that there are facts that correspond to the propositional functions.
So if I can kind of sum up what you're saying, make sure I understand, is that he's building out a system right now, and one of our load bearing pillars is kind of faulty, because I would say what we would probably, like, if we were to talk about modern day, would we just say that X is a man would be considered under multiple tags at its base level, talking about both existence, gender, God, I'm complaining words with modern day and his words of facts because he uses them differently. It's like I feel like this. Fuck. Go ahead. I don't. I'm still chewing on it.
Well, okay.
If you take X as a unicorn, that is an impossible one. And a propositional function comes in again in such a statement as Socrates. Oh, conflating sections. If you take X as X, that is a propositional function which is true, whatever X may be, i.e. a necessary propositional function. If you take X as a man, that is a possible one. If you take X as a unicorn, that is an impossible one.
So yeah, so I mean, what kind of? So I think. Okay, so there's two ways we could have propositional functions relate to facts. One is directly, where there's just to say that all great, thank you. All
You're getting demonetized.
yes. Uh I'm glad I have you off the off the recording side of the screen. Um Damn it, that distracted. Okay. Okay, so I think so you could either have like, all men are mortal is a general proposition that directly corresponds to a fact in the world, or you could be saying that X is a man implies that X is mortal is always true. That is a proposition itself, and that's a thing that corresponds to the fact, which is strange. It is strange to me. Um,
Wonder
cause
what like consensus on this chapter would be. Like, I
well,
wonder what like scholars.
oh, I mean, I'm sure that a lot of people have written about this. Uh, so I mean, I'm trying to think about what he is saying and how he could respond. Um, I mean, because it general like they did like previous existence is not something he really talked about exactly. I mean, I think he has to say that when we're talking about existence, we're talking about all of time. Um, which is just a problem or uh, a disharmony between his systematic language and ordinary language. Because you could say woolly
Can you
mammoths don't exist.
contrast it?
Oh,
Give me an example from the real world. Yeah, sorry.
yeah. So the real world, people could say stuff like woolly mammoths don't exist, and then you could kind of push them. You could say, well, they did exist. They used to exist. And I think, as far as Russell has talked about it, I don't think you can. I think you would have to say that the claim that woolly mammoths don't exist, it has to be false, and you have to be able to say that woolly mammoths exist, because you can say that because in fact it did exist, because all you're saying is that X is a woolly mammoth is possible, and yes, it is certainly possible because there was a certain time at which it was possible. X is a woolly mammoth was true in fact in the year, I don't know, 20,000 BC or something. So it was possible in some instance. And I
They
think that
existed at one time.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I do think that that is kind of uh,
Flimsy.
not
I don't
flimsy.
think
I
it's
think it's
very.
a little bit implied when he talks about Socrates. I mean, or like at least kind of like his hidden things that he was saying. Just he kind of just is just like, yeah, well, that's this is where this shows up. Uh, which is that when we were
Now,
talking about.
well, just a fact I need to know. Are you referring to when you talk about woolly mammoths? Are you talking about how they would know them at the time? And I don't know if they knew them at the time or just present day here on this call. Woolly mammoths.
It's not so much about knowing them. It's it's about the, yeah. Where we're here, right? Like I'm here right now, and I think Russell would have to say that woolly mammoths exist in the sense that the functional proposition X is a woolly mammoth is possible, because namely there was a time at which there was a thing that the variable could be, that the X could point to.
Hmm. And would
Um,
he say? Do you think he would say Socrates exists? That would
yep.
naturally follow.
Yeah, I definitely think that. Um,
And okay, so let me put that back into my like function, like brain calculator here.
mhm.
Um, okay, now let me reread his little quote. Because to be mortal means to be died at another time, means that time Socrates dies. And again, a propositional function, namely that t is time, and Socrates dies at t, is possible if you say Socrates is immortal. Um, that will also involve a propositional function. That means t of time whatsoever. Socrates is alive at time t. Okay, if t is any time, okay, that's all right. I didn't read it fully. Um, Well, so then that's so weird. So existence is fuck. There's also the challenge that like these words mean different things in different uh context, right?
Uh-huh.
Existence, or well, I should just say to exist. Fuck, I'm gonna have to exist definition. I'm gonna have to put in. To exist, to have objective reality or
Ah,
being.
yes, the dictionary.
Just
Live,
my brain
especially
is
under adverse conditions.
I exist. I will exist. There existed no organization to cope with espionage. Jesus, what a complicated example. Or just existence. Jesus.
That is a weird. Yeah, that is.
What fucking like the Jews used to exist, and they exist 6 million less as of 1945. Like, what a weird fucking way to. Sorry. Um, so if we're talking about existence, because there's two, right? Is the like exist as in like you said, it comes down to temporal, right?
Hmm.
The temporal existence, but we can say Michael Jackson. Would we say like Michael Jackson exists because like he's played on radio stations everywhere? Um, but he's dead. We would never say he doesn't exist. He existed. No one would ever say he exists ever. Okay, I feel more confident about that statement. He would no one would say he exists.
No, not in normal language.
They
No.
would specify he exists on the airwaves. It would have to be because otherwise you'd get weird looks.
Or that he used to exist,
Yes, or in past tense,
which
correct.
you still
It
get a weird
signifies
look
time.
because nobody talks like that. Like, could you imagine
Well,
like
yeah.
you go to a funeral and you're like, well, she used to exist.
Grandpa is mortal.
Grandpa.
Grandpa is as mortal as unicorns are possible.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
I guess actually an interesting thing with people, which is less exactly relevant to this conversation, but like, which I had a thing with this. Okay, so I have two things here, which is one about going to a funeral and saying, well, Grandpa doesn't exist anymore, or he used to exist, which is a somewhat natural language that I don't think Russell is uses. In
okay, just to pause you. The reason I used Michael Jackson and it cut through the clutter is because it's the closest thing to a like monolith or like a symbol, right? Where if someone were to live on or an existence were to live on, we would think like a pop star, right? Like Michael Jackson lives on right today. And we still wouldn't use that word ever. Even I don't think
Oh, that
like
Michael
not even
Jackson exists.
sort of. Yeah, like in symbolic form.
Yeah.
Even like that's where that kind of penetrates that like even in some edge cases where there's like a pop star that everyone on the planet knows, we wouldn't say he exists in people's hearts and minds, right? Unless we specified otherwise.
So, okay, and I'm gonna explain this other thing that is mostly just awkward, but then I want to get back to this. I want to talk about it now about my sister, and then I'm gonna talk about metric spaces. So
She exists, that's
okay.
for sure.
So my sister, which I am now giving you this news now, is my sister is pregnant.
Yeah, well, yeah, I learned yesterday, I think.
Oh, did I tell you? Okay, I probably did.
Yeah.
I was really fucking tired yesterday. So, anyway, I don't know if I told you this though, which is that, well, I think you know that. Well, she's very Catholic, so she believes that she has a human life and spirit in her stomach right now, or in her womb. But I kept not thinking about that, and I multiple times said like, "Oh, you're gonna be a mother," and she's like, "I am a mother." And then she would like walk away. Oh, I agree and stuff. I was like, "Oh, my bad." I mean, like, yeah, you're a mother. I'll go along. I'll like in my head, I'm like, yeah, I'll go along with this. That's fine. But it happened a couple times. Yeah. So that whatever. Anyway, so how that's relevant to the grandpa thing is just that saying that grandpa used to exist is very specific, whereas spirit, like religiously speaking, as opposed to saying grandpa is dead, because that's kind of agnostic as towards whether he exists or not. because maybe you don't like, say you run a funeral home and you don't actually know if these people are religious or not. You wouldn't say, oh well, he doesn't exist anymore. You would say he's dead because obviously he's fucking dead.
Spiritually,
What?
are you trying to get on like religiously, spiritually? There's a spirit that exists, so that
Oh,
person always exists.
well, I mean, if you're just if you're talking to the people at the funeral, they might all be, you know,
Grandma still exists.
Catholic stuff. So saying like, oh, he doesn't exist or she doesn't exist is kind of is wrong to say. Like presently exist doesn't presently exist doesn't is wrong to say in that system. Because they'd still have to say, well, they do exist. They're a spirit, but they're just not here. So I don't know. I mean, there's nothing really interesting I'm saying right now, with respect to the.
Welcome to Book Club, episode 500.
All I'm saying is that I guess there are some features of natural language that allow for people to be wrong. Let me say that, but feel like
Like
they're
Russell.
comfortable.
Yeah, he's literally just speaking this to people as they are notating it for a book.
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty confident in what he says. I want to see here what the SAP says about. And I'm looking for like I guess functional, no, propositional
Oh,
functions.
so I was gonna say, like, you can kind of think of the temporal thing about existence in this way. Think about time more as space, and I'm gonna make an analogy here. But so to say that woolly mammoths don't exist is analogous to saying that Russians don't exist because they're so far away. You know what I mean?
Okay, hold on. Give me the first one again. Sorry, that left
To
my
say
brain.
woolly mammoths don't exist is
To say
just as
Russians
val.
don't exist
Yeah, to say woolly mammoths don't exist
in Russell's system.
in Russell's system is just as valid
Okay,
as saying that Russians don't exist.
this is perfect. This is the way my brain works. Is just like a clear-cut example.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Because they're just far away.
right. Now I feel like one of the challenges is either A, he's going to enumerate this further in the book because I think you alluded to that, or like we don't have like a contrapositive we can work with, right? Or we can't really fight against it because well, we could just say it's right or wrong, right? I mean, we're not really positing alternatives, or are we?
Oh, to what, Russell system?
To
Um,
this, yeah, existence problem.
uh, I'm just raising things he didn't address, and I'm trying to figure out how he could respond and whether that would work and whether that would be consistent with the rest of what he says.
What's and I'm not going to hold you to it. What would be like your first thought as like in
Oh, what?
would we be replacing the word existence and just making it, or is it replacing something in the system with the way he uses these propositional functions?
We're not really replacing anything. We're just bringing what saying X is Y. Like saying that something is something is saying that something is possible, and we're bringing that to bear on all the types of things you can say about a thing. Which I know that was just a fucking mouthful of shit.
No, but I understood it.
Okay.
One of the challenges, right, is like I can think of 1,000 examples where obviously that's incorrect, even when we're talking literally, specifically talking about the word literally. Right? If I say Michael Jackson literally exists, but literally, technically means, or Michael Jackson literally is a kid fucker, right? Like if I were to use that, the is, well, I get fuck. I don't know if I'm weaseling out because like if we include like sarcasm, right, that removes every system from everything. So I don't want to like cheapen the answer.
So I guess one thing to keep in mind too is it's not actual things that exist. It's so
Things that no longer or are far away.
it's well, no, it's not things that exist. It's facts exist, and I guess
Facts.
propositional functions that exist.
Well, things can be within facts. So, bitch, get dunked on.
Well, they're components of facts, but the existence is, I guess, if you want to call it a predicate, the existence is not a predicate of the constituent of the fact. It is a predicate of the fact. Well, it's not even a predicate. It's probably
Busted out its constituents.
yeah. So it also
That makes sense. That makes sense. Shit. Go ahead.
so okay this is another thing. Okay, so I want to bring this up. So the Russell used this theory to, I guess, explain the problem with the deontological argument for the existence of God. So the deontological argument is that I have a concept of God, and that concept includes that God is perfect in all possible ways, and a thing that exists is more perfect than something that doesn't exist. Therefore, the concept of God includes existence, so we can predicate existence of God, and therefore God exists. And I guess the problem, well, and part of what he's saying,
say that last sentence again. The final
we
of
can,
the prop
yeah, we
logic.
can predicate existence of God because it is a perfection, and therefore God exists, or God has existence, and therefore exists.
It's like the watchmaker's fallacy, but in God form.
Oh, what
Well,
the
not God form.
watchmaker one being that, uh,
Like
well, somebody
something so
makes
complex.
watches, and clearly, trees work, so somebody had to make the trees. Is that what you're talking about?
Uh, I don't know, but the watchmaker is basically I can't remember. Like if he takes all his watch parts, if you go to a watchmaker and you put all his parts in like a bag and smashes it and breaks it apart, what are the like? You're never gonna like have a watch on the other end, right? Somebody had to create it, so there had to be a creator. Is the prop logic to that, um, to that uh analogy, right? And so the way I took what you said about God was that similarly to the way people look at the world, like, oh my God, there's 1,000 parts to an eyeball. Someone had to create that. Um, uh, uh, that something so perfect. I don't know. I bridged that gap in my mind between something so complicated and but you were using perfect, and I don't know if I can bridge that.
I mean, there is perfect as a common concept to the arguments, yeah. Um,
Yeah.
but so in fact, actually, I have another issue with. Well, I think Russell ends up actually making a similar to, I don't know about a watchmaker argument, but like the first cause argument for something else that happens in this chapter, which has to do with the primitive knowledges. But whatever. Uh, So, but the thing is that the conclusion. So the analysis that I guess actually Russell ended up making about the deontological argument was that, is that existence. The part of the one of the premises of the deontological argument is that existence is a predicate of a thing, which is God, and what he's the way he's laying out his philosophy of logic is that we can't actually say of a thing that it has existence. Things don't have existence. It's either, I guess, facts or, in some sense or another, possible propositional functions.
I don't have propositional functions and facts in his definitions internalized. So when you use them in a sentence, I'm not following
Okay.
as easy. So I don't know if I should probably write down the definition so I have like or just like outline those
Yeah.
two, the general propositions and then um or sorry, general facts, existence facts, and then propositional
Yep.
functional propositions. Sorry,
Or yeah, it's propositional functions.
propositional functions. That's right.
It's just yeah. It's just
Um,
to say that there's like it's just any proposition that has a variable uh component to it, uh, such as X is blue, or Peter X Bill, you know.
Okay, so that makes sense. Okay, so God, I'm getting flashbacks of the cabin. Going over function.
Yes. Yeah, this is really the I thought about this the first time I started reading the first paragraph. I was like, yeah, this is exactly what the fucking cabin was that we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um. Okay, I want to find what the SCP says on fucking this existence problem. Um. One is not committed to non-existent. Okay, hold on. And you can talk if you want, or if you have a next point.
Well, okay. I'll let you read. Uh,
Theory of descriptions. I'm worried that this is later in his works.
it's later in this book. He brings up
Yeah.
the theory of descriptions.
Oh, okay, perfect. I thought I was barking up the wrong tree, or like later in his works, because a lot of this covers the his mathematic releases, right? The principle of mathematics. But I guess that's all in the encompassing, because the whole logical atomism is talking about how the world is basically made up of a mathematic or language, sorry, is made up of a mathematic like system, right? Which I
Well,
just think is a flawed premise to begin with.
it's not. Well, it's that language and mathematics have a common structure, which is logic. So for like before even I guess Wittgenstein came around, I think Russell was looking at the idea of um, reducing math to logic, and then but they never really had a way to take logic and really apply it to language in a I guess a interesting way that Wittgenstein was able to do. Um,
Well, I think, and obviously, there's so many flaws with that. You know, the fact that it doesn't even take into the account things like culture and dialects and um,
well, yeah, but you can't.
but that's easy to poke holes in. That's a little bit
It's
of a
the journey of 1,000 miles. It starts with the first step. This is the first
yeah,
step.
because this is like his which book, and this is his first.
On this, no, I don't think it's his first book of philosophy, but he actually published all of Principia Mathematica before this. But he had been mulling over the contents of this book, for the 10 years that he was writing the.
Oh, this is interesting. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but it was, Russell's attitude with regard to propositions had changed. I'm sure you know this because you've read a lot of this.
Hmm?
He argued that the truth of the general proposition x of r, uh, x comma b not consist entirely of the various atomic facts that a bears r to b and b bears r to b, c blah blah blah. It also requires the truth that there are no other individuals besides A, B, C, etc., i.e., no other atomic facts of the relevant form. Hence, Russell concludes that there is a special category of facts called general facts. Uh, oh, shit.
Well, yeah. He's just saying he just had to make the argument. Oh, yeah. So yeah, he had to make the argument that there are general facts.
Yeah, that I think we've covered that, right?
Yeah, he brought that up actually a couple chapters back. Um,
Yeah, I the intro to this paragraph sounded promising, but it was
yeah,
just
and it also
backtracking.
went along with his argument about inductive statements and about how we had to have some type of primitive knowledge of general facts because, like, even if you're going all men are more, if you're saying, well, I've seen Jim and Bob and Sarah and Gunji and all of them, they all died. And so all those particulars are mortal, and so you can't. But you could always, you can't really, according to him, you can't make the claim then to all men are mortal, without also saying that these are all the men. You have to have that claim in there to be able to then make the general statement, all men are mortal.
Which is a very mathematic way to think of things. right? He's thinking, I have 10 men here, and there are 100 men in the world. If I were to say all men blank based on the 10 men I've seen, that would be mathematically impossible, right?
Yeah. Um, so and I'm like, so then he brings that over onto the side of facts, and yeah, and he talks about, well, this is a fact, and that's a fact, and that's a fact, and you can't, which is weird. Well, it's odd. Oh, okay, hold up. Let me look at that. Where is that argument again? Did you ever pull it up? Which is that you can't know that you have all of the facts until you have the statement, these are all the facts. You know? So, which is dumb because that's relying, but we don't even have, I don't even know that, quote unquote, these are all the facts. I just know that I have some facts, you know? Or I have some access to facts. It's relying
Right.
on
So
something that I
kind
don't
of
think actually exists.
So so if I can rephrase, right? Like the universe, right? Um, let's pretend it's always forever and ever. This is our information about the universe, meaning maybe we go to some other planets, but we never find the end of it in this example. No one could say, obviously, that the universe is, or galaxy. Is it galaxy? Is for no, it's universe. The universe is 1,000,000 miles long, right? Um, no one could ever say that because, oh fuck, I shouldn't have used a. My example got too weird. Fuck, and then I forgot it along the way. And I'm not even high.
Well, where is that? Where is that argument?
If you have the page number up or whatever.
All facts. No, god damn it.
Propositional function is necessary when it is always true, possible when it is sometimes true, impossible when it is never true.
Okay.
And I feel like Russell and other philosophical works would never say the words never and always. Like, I don't think you can ever apply that to any language ever. Anything with the word always or never. Probably never.
You're making that statement about all philosophy, so there's one right there.
Bingo, bango. Well, I can say it, but it's nonsense. And I speak a lot of nonsense. According to Russell. And me.
Okay. I think it is perfectly clear. I think that when this is on page 71. It is perfectly clear, I think, that when you have enumerated all the atomic facts in the world, it is a further fact about the world that those are all the atomic facts there are about the world, and that this just as much as an objective fact about the world as any of them are. It is clear, I think, that you must admit general facts as distinct from and over and above particular facts. The same thing applies to all men are mortal. So, yeah, okay, I mean, this is not a good, I think there's reason to believe this is not a good argument for the existence of general facts because nobody has enumerated all the facts in the world or even gotten close.
Right, even if we were to do a census of the entire planet.
Mm-hmm.
I think even Russell at the time, even in his earlier readings and writings, just writings because I haven't read his readings, is that he seems to be, I would almost say like me, like he would say like that we'll never know all things, or no, he's not, he's somewhere between an ideal, we wouldn't call on someone who believes in idealism an ideologue, would we?
I don't know. You can use it that way.
He's somewhere between idealism and realism, right? he would, but closer to realism. He would probably say, you know, uh, for all things about the world, um, you know, I I see it, and kind of like if I can touch, if I can see it or my sense data picks it up, right? It doesn't mean that it doesn't exist just because my senses don't pick it up. So he's somewhere in between, right? But he basically, we would say, nah, I'm like 99% sure God doesn't exist, right? But I would never say 100%, right?
Sure.
That's like a general type of like way of looking about the world. I would say he is the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the way he goes about um, saying that enumerating all atomic facts in the world, I feel at this place in time in his life, maybe it's earlier or whatnot, but I feel like even he would say that's nonsense. Like, I feel like I've read things where it truly means like as we're. I feel like he would never say that, right? Because he knows better. Like that's such a simple overlook. Enumerating all the facts about the world,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I mean, hmm.
Or
Also,
maybe based on his system, he would say there are no atomic facts. Well, no, no, he would know. He would say there's no way to enumerate all atomic facts, but that would negate. So that would mean that it'd be nonsense to ever use the word all, never, right? Based on my outlook on the world, right? Because I would never say those. I would say those words, but I would mean them at 99%, right?
yeah.
Which
Um. So
which is like getting in. If we were to look at language like math, it's like I'm using remainders when we all do, because language isn't fucking math.
Mm-hmm.
There's just
So
shit that doesn't fit into the logic. Go ahead.
there is something I could say about this. So you're saying it is perfectly clear that when you enumerated all the atomic facts in the world, it is a further fact about the world that those are all the atomic facts. So say the statement. So say you have A, just A, and that distinguishes all the atomic facts. And then you
Mm-hmm.
have the proposition P, which is just the entire set A is all of the facts. Now, I'm pretty sure that P has to be a member of A because it is an atomic fact, which is
Right.
odd. So now it's referencing itself, but yes, I mean, um,
But what if P is never been discovered, thought of?
well, we have
Oh,
it's
okay. So in this example, sorry.
in a unreferenced way. We just have the idea of all the atomic facts, which is the we're denoting by the letter A. It's kind of like our unknown variable to a degree, which is that we still haven't figured it out, but we can still talk about it. Like stuff like when you're looking for in math when you're looking
Quantum
for.
mechanics and all that shit.
Hmm?
I was saying quantum mechanics, but I really meant like that fucking super space, like fucking dark matter shit, right? Like shit we know exists, but we just use the word dark matter
Yeah,
because we don't have a
yeah,
better way
kind
to
of like
describe what we don't know.
even without getting into like crazy science, and you can look into something that's a little bit more familiar with the way that he's talking is like, oh, if you're looking for the uh, you know uh, x minus one in parentheses to the third equals 48 or something.
We don't know what X is in that example,
Well,
right?
we don't know, but we can talk about it.
But we can talk about it and even potentially find out what it is,
Yeah, so what I'm
even
saying is that we
without
can have
ever
the
seeing it.
proposition P, which is that the set A is all the atomic facts.
And
Um,
through some form of inference, we can.
and then I think you'd have to end up saying that well P is an atomic fact, and then therefore P resides in A. Um,
And is P considered that X equation in that example?
yeah, A is the unknown. We know what P is, but we don't
Oh,
know.
okay. I thought you were okay. I
Yeah,
thought you were saying that. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. So P is all the numbers, and then X is A. Okay. Um,
yeah. Because yeah, we're familiar with all the rest of it. Just
and we would say P in A, right? Is the equation,
um,
or is in A? Not to use that word.
P
Is
is in.
not
Yeah,
to,
yeah. P is
but
in A. Is
P.
I? another
We'll use is for conversation. Let's not get crazy, all right? Well, he's not taking the word is away from us, for fuck's sake.
No, no.
Colloquially, we can use the word is. So P is in A, and
Mhm.
then, okay, I'm following. Or was that the
Yeah,
conclusion?
yeah. And so, well, I'm trying to think. Like, I mean, even if we can say that P is an A, and that P is just to say that A is all the atomic facts. I mean, but it's the I guess us knowing that the whole proposition P is true resides in us also knowing what the full set of A is, which we don't. It just keeps changing. We're never going to know that because there are certain facts that we are not disclosed to, namely facts of the future. And there's always going to be a future, so we're never going to know all of A. Ha! So that undermines his statement that there has to be general facts. Although the problem is I just use a general fact to say that there's no general facts, which is now bothering me. God damn.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Oh god.
Um, um,
Have you heard of the explosion principle, by the way? It's nuts.
it sounds super familiar.
Yeah. Which is just to say that you can infer anything from a tautology because because implication is always true whenever the antecedent is false. So like because of how it gets logically translated, it's true to say that like if the sun blows up, then I like lollipops. Which I like
I,
lollipops, and the sun hasn't blown up. That's false, but like,
you'd say if the sun is blowing up,
yeah, if it well,
or no?
it doesn't even matter. I could literally say if unicorns eat duck vaginas, then I love lollipops. But I love lollipops,
Well,
and
the reason I was hung up on that is because the sun could blow up. So blows up is inferring, and I wanted to use like past tense, blew up or to
sure,
like clean
sure.
it, but maybe that's part of it. I
I
don't know.
mean, but the weird thing
Uh,
is you can think of a statement that's always false, and then you can say that that false statement implies something else.
Fuck you, the
So
sun blows up every second of every minute.
because it's
You're
still
just that's a bad. That was an awful example, JP. I just want to point that out. The
okay.
sun is an explosion ball, and it will blow up one day.
Okay,
I mean,
well,
just you used a negative that's a positive.
yeah, I didn't
It's
pick a
just
good
you're
one, but
kill yourself
the
off yourself right
if the
now.
present okay here's we'll talk about one that the Russell talks about, which is that if the present king of France is bald, then I love lollipops, which is a weird sentence to say though, but
It is. I mean, whatever tickles your fancy, bro. I
it's
mean,
now getting more relevant.
I know we're good friends.
But that statement, the present king of France is bald, is always going to be false, and because you can always infer the statement that hmm hold up. I'm thinking of the problem of the explosion principle. Well, the explosion principle is just to say that if you can derive a contradiction, you can imply fucking anything. Um,
Wait, you can apply
you can imply anything.
anything
That's the explosion
by
principle,
deriving?
and that's the problem. There's like particular if you look up um also the other thing is paradoxes of material implicatures. The same thing as talking about the explosion principle. It's just
Something can be proven from a contradiction. Once a contradiction has been asserted, any proposition can be inferred from it. Further principle was given in 12th century philosophy. Blah, 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 existence contradiction. Just tell me what the contemporary thought. I assume that's ridiculous, or is that true?
what I
All
mean.
lemons are yellow, and not all lemons are yellow. And suppose that both are true. If that is the case, anything can be proved. Oh, so basically, it's what it's saying. Oh, well, you used it. This is a cleaner example.
What's the example?
It says here, and maybe you're wrong. I don't know. All lemons are yellow, and not all lemons are yellow. And suppose that both are true. If that is the case, then anything can be proven. I mean, but that's just saying that if there's a contradiction, this is almost like just a matter of contradictions.
I mean, I mean, I just said, yeah. If you
We
can,
know that not all lemons are yellow. We know that all lemons are yellow, as it has been assumed to be true. Therefore, the two-part statement, all lemons are yellow, or, oh, okay, all lemons are yellow or unicorn exists, must be true since the first part, all lemons are yellow, of the two-part statement is true.
all right, that's what it
Okay,
is.
so okay,
Okay,
so because we can infer the positive of one, we can infer the negative of the other. Uh,
all right. No, it's
on
it's
a
from it's from knowing the negative one, you can infer the positive
well,
of the
I
other.
would
Like,
assume you can. I would assume it's reversed as well, right? Because in
uh,
this,
no,
I
no, no,
know
because in an
unicorns don't
in a
exist and lemons
disjunction
are
or an
yellow.
or statement, you can have both be true. Like I can like chocolate or I can like vanilla. That's fine because I like both. Um,
Well,
although
but what's that? But,
in ordinary language,
um,
most of the time people are mean to be a exclusive or, but in the annoying part of the very pedantic lot and
wait, hold on. Therefore, the two-part statement, blah blah blah, unicorn exists, must also be true since the first part, all lemons are yellow, of the two-part sentence is true. As it has been assumed. However, since we know that not all lemons are yellow, as it has been assumed, the first part is false. Right? We would, and hence the second part must be true to ensure the two-part statement be true, i.e., unicorns exist.
all right. I'm gonna just
Okay,
say
so in place of,
we should end
sorry, go ahead, yeah.
when we're done talking about this explosion crap. We should end because we're about to hit an hour. Um, but
Why you get gonna turn into a pumpkin? Was it? It's not
no,
midnight
you
yet.
wanted to talk about sequel inheritance.
Yes, but before,
I also
have
kind of
you
want
heard
to
of
play Valheim.
Bayesian probability?
What
Bayesian probability or
did he talk about
probabilistics?
that?
That's not the, no, it's like another philosophy thing.
Okay,
Or
well, I'll go ahead and
yeah,
close it. Unless it is it.
you can you can close it.
Okay, all
Sorry,
right.
yeah,
Goodbye,
yeah.
world.
Before you
Go learn about
goodbye,
Bayesian
Courtney.
probability.